You know that feeling when you finally snap the last two pieces of a puzzle together?
Oh, yeah. That deeply satisfying click.
Right. You look at it and your brain just goes, ah, perfect fit. It's like you have these two completely separate things, they bridge a gap, and now, boom, they're joined.
It's an incredibly concrete sensation, isn't it? I mean, it gives us this visceral impression of two totally distinct entities coming together to form a whole.
Exactly. And I mean, that is exactly how we experience practically everything in our lives, right?
Right.
There's me and there's you, there's the bat and there's the baseball, there's, the seer, and then there's the thing being seen.
Yes, the classic subject and object.
But, and this is why we're here today, as we step back into the world of the philosopher Nagarjuna, we're going to see that this satisfying click, that union, might actually be the single biggest illusion we experience.
It really is. Welcome back to the deep dive, everyone. We're wandering into the epicenter of a philosophical earthquake today.
For sure. Chapter 14 of the Mūlamadhyamakakarika.
Exactly. Nagarjuna just relentlessly goes after this whole concept of union, or saṃsarga in Sanskrit. But, to really understand his critique, we first have to fully grasp his target.
Right, which is the Abhidharma framework.
Yes, the Abhidharma.
Which, for our listeners tracking with us, that represents the realist perspective. It's basically that voice in our heads insisting that the world is made of fundamental, real building blocks.
Yeah, these momentarily existing little nuggets of reality.
Right. And the Abhidharma posits that union is this literal, ontological coming together of these inherently existing, distinct entities. Like, they physically smash together to produce something totally new.
Right, well, think about their view of sensory experience. The Abhidharma would argue that you have a sense organ, like an eye.
Okay.
And this eye possesses its own inherent reality. Then you have a sense object, let's say a flower, which also has its own independent essence.
So two completely separate real things.
Exactly. And when they physically or, functionally meet, they unite. And that union produces visual consciousness.
Which sounds, entirely logical on the surface. Distinct parts combining to make a new whole. It's the puzzle pieces clicking together.
Right. It's very intuitive.
Yeah.
But Nagarjuna introduces this radical thesis to counter it. He argues that if things are inherently different or separate, they can actually never unite.
Never.
Never. So today we're going to walk through this rigorous 11-step Madhyamaka reasoning process to completely deconstruct the very concept of connection.
And spoiler alert, by the end of this, we'll find that the true union of opposites isn't a physical merging at all. So where do we start? Step one, I assume.
Step one, yes. The starting point for this deconstruction requires us to map out the architecture of connection.
Okay, lay it out for us.
Well, any union or interaction requires what we call three interdependent spheres. It's always a triad.
The triad, right.
Yeah. You have opposite one, which is the subject or the actor or the seer.
Okay.
Then you have the opposing relation, which is the action or the union itself.
Right, the verb, basically.
Exactly. And finally, you have opposite two, which is the object, the result, or the thing being seen.
And this triad, it applies to literally everything we experience or even conceptualize, right? Like causality and effect, or producer, production, and product.
Right, or even abstract philosophical constructs, like take samsara, the cycle of suffering, and nirvana liberation. They rely on this exact same three-sphere architecture.
Time to past, present, future.
Yes. Or a physical process like fire. You have the kindling, the sustaining action of burning, and the fire itself.
So we've got our three spheres. That's step one. What's step two?
Step two is where things get really intense. By identifying these three spheres, Nagarjuna sets the stage for his primary analytical tool in the first 7 verses of chapter 14.
The tetralemma.
The tetralemma.
Right.
We apply this four-cornered logic to these spheres to test a really fundamental assumption.
Which is, can these spheres actually inherently connect?
Exactly. So the tetralemma asks 4 questions. Are these spheres not different? Are they not identical? Are they not both? And are they not neither?
Okay, let's break that down. Let's start with that first corner. What if opposite 1 and opposite 2, like the seer and the seen, what if they are inherently independent and different?
Right. Well, if they're fundamentally ontologically separate, that means they possess their own complete independent essence.
They are their own thing.
Yes. And if a thing is completely independent, it cannot be affected by anything outside itself. Because, to be affected is to be dependent.
Ah, I see. So two inherently different entities are like hermetically sealed off from one another?
Precisely. They have no metaphysical surface area to make contact. And furthermore, Nagarjuna pushes the definition of difference itself here.
How so?
Well, difference is purely relational. A puzzle piece isn't just different floating in a vacuum. It's only different in relation to another specific piece.
Right, you need something to compare it to.
Exactly. So if two things rely on each other just to establish their difference, they aren't inherently separate to begin with.
Oh, wow. So if difference requires relation, then independent difference is literally an oxymoron.
It's a total contradiction.
That relational nature just completely destroys the first corner of the logic.
It does.
So we move to the second option. What if the spheres are identical? Like, what if the seer and the seen are inherently the same, perfectly united from the start?
Well, the problem there is pure redundancy.
Hmm.
I mean, unification is a process of bringing things together, right?
Yeah.
You can't bring a thing together with itself.
Right.
If A and B are identical, there's only A. You can't synthesize A with A. The whole concept of union just collapses under its own weight because there aren't separate entities to unite in the first place.
Which brings us to the both and neither corners. And these are crucial for sealing off any logical escape routes people might try to take.
Yeah, they really corner the opponent.
So what happens if someone tries to claim the spheres are both different and identical?
Asserting that they are both just massively violates the foundational law of non-contradiction.
Right, because you're attempting to say an object has a fully independent essence while simultaneously having a fully dependent essence.
Exactly. It's like claiming the puzzle pieces are entirely isolated, self-sufficient atoms, yet at the same exact time, completely merged into one indistinguishable mass.
I mean, the mind might be able to string those words together into a sentence, but the actual ontological reality of that is an absolute impossibility.
Right. An entity cannot possess mutually exclusive fundamental natures. It's nonsense.
Which forces us to the fourth corner. What if we say they're neither different nor identical? Like if someone argues, well, they aren't completely separate, but they aren't exactly the same either.
Asserting neither basically abandons the realm of functional reality without actually establishing a coherent alternative.
It's just dodging the question.
It really is. If you negate both identity and difference as inherent properties, but you still try to cling to some other mysterious inherent property that somehow allows for a physical union, you're just chasing a phantom.
There's literally no logical space left.
None. The realist assumption that physical, inherently real objects are bridging a gap falls apart completely.
Okay, I want to ground this a bit with an analogy because it's pretty dense. It's really tempting to think of a union like baking a cake.
Okay, I like that.
You have flour, sugar, and heat. Three separate things, they come together, they unite, and you have a cake. But based on this logic we just walked through, in reality, you can't even define the baker without the baking and the cake.
Exactly.
They do not pre-exist their relationship. Like, a baker who has never baked and has no cake isn't a baker. The identity of the subject is entirely dependent on the action and the object.
That analogy highlights the core mechanism perfectly. The triad of baker, baking, and cake, they arise simultaneously as concepts. You cannot isolate one without completely dissolving the others.
Right, but I need to push back here for a second.
Please do.
Because if there's no inherent difference between a perceiver and a perceived object, and if independent objects can't interact, how do we explain the very real experience of bumping your toe into a coffee table?
The stub toe argument.
Right. I mean, the pain is sharp. The table feels incredibly separate from me when I hit it. The contact feels undeniable.
And Nagarjuna is absolutely not denying the experience of bumping your toe.
Okay, well, that's a relief.
Yeah, the pain is functional, the table is functional, but the shift happens in how we understand the mechanism of that event.
The mechanism.
Yes, we have to shift from this idea of inherent reality, like two fundamentally separate atoms crashing together in some absolute sense, to the concept of dependent origination.
Which brings us to steps 3 and 4 of the reasoning. Since we've been tracking with the broader Mulamadhyamakakarika in previous deep dives, we know what this implies. Because the Tetralemma proves that an inherent absolute union is impossible, that step 2, step 3, tells us that these three spheres, the toe, the bumping, the table, are entirely empty of inherent existence.
Exactly. Emptiness. Because there are no absolute independent opposites to begin with, there can be no absolute independent action or union between them.
And that emptiness naturally leads to step 4.
dependent co-origination. The seer, the sight, and the seen co-define each other. They co-evolve.
Right.
Because they only exist in relation to one another, they are essentially co-imputed by the mind. They're mere designations, conventional names we use to organize our experience.
So the subject, the relation, and the object are inseparable and dependently co-originated.
Yes. And this brings us to step 5, which provides a massive alternative to the Abhidharma's idea of physical unification.
Okay.
If things don't physically ontologically unite, then the real meaning of the union of opposites is actually just the union of the two truths regarding these three spheres.
Let's unpack that. The two truths.
Right. So the conventional truth is that these concepts, subject, relation, object, are highly functional tools.
Like we said, they're useful.
Very useful. We need them to navigate life, to build tables, to communicate. But the ultimate truth is that they are entirely empty of inherent existence.
They aren't fundamentally real on their own.
Exactly. And one truth actually enables the other. The very fact that the tabor and the toe lack absolute rigid boundaries is precisely what allows the conventional interaction to occur.
Oh, wow. So the union of the two truths literally is the union of opposites.
Yes.
You know, this intellectual rescue is just profound. By accepting this union of the two truths, we avoid two terrifying extremes.
We do.
We don't have to choose between, a universe of cold, isolated, disconnected objects that can never truly touch, and a universe where everything just mashes together into a meaningless, featureless soup.
Right. We avoid nihilism and radical monism. We land firmly in the middle way.
So how do we actually visualize this? That's step 6, right? Exploring the nature of these dependently co-originated spheres.
Yes. Step 6. Because they only exist dependently, Nāgārjuna compares them to illusions. They are like mirages or dreams or echoes.
An echo is actually the perfect way to visualize this.
How so?
Well, think about it. You shout into a canyon and the sound bounces back. The echo is highly functional, right? You can hear it. You could even measure its decibel level with a microphone.
Sure.
But does the echo have inherent independent existence? No.
No, it doesn't.
It requires the physical shape of the canyon, the atmospheric density of the air, and obviously the original voice. So it is functionally there, yet ultimately not there as an independent entity.
That is brilliant. Yes, that is exactly the illusory nature of all triads and unions.
It's there, yet not there.
Exactly. And to fully internalize this illusory nature, we move to step 7.
Okay.
Nagarjuna pushes our conceptual habits to the absolute breaking point here by applying the generalized tetralemma.
Generalized, meaning it's not just about identity and difference anymore.
Right. The generalized tetralemma states that the three spheres are not this, they're not non-this, they're not both, and they're not neither.
And there's no fifth option.
Crucially, there is no fifth option for whatever this happens to be.
But wait, why force the mind through that extreme level of negation? I mean, we already disproved inherent union through the standard tetralemma in step 2.
We did.
So why must we negate this, non-this, both, and neither for literally any conceptual category we try to impose on the spheres?
The goal is to completely arrest conceptual proliferation.
Ah, prapanyaka.
Yes, prapanyaka. The mind's default state is to obsessively categorize reality into dualistic models. We constantly want to put reality in a conceptual box by saying it is this or it is that.
We want certainty.
Exactly. We crave it. But the generalized tetralemma demonstrates that the true nature of reality is entirely beyond all of our conditioned dualistic triads and dyads.
So whenever we attempt to pin reality down with a rigid category, we miss it.
We miss it entirely. Because reality is fluid, it's interdependent, and it's totally empty of those conceptual boundaries.
Okay, but if reality completely defies every mental model we possess, how do we actively live in the world?
That's the big question.
Right, because we still need to pay rent, drive cars, talk to our families. We need an operational attitude.
And that operational attitude is step 9, the middle way.
Okay.
It's a way of being that is radically free from all extremes. On one side, we have to completely abandon naive realism or objectivism.
Which is the trap of believing the coffee table, the stub toe, and the seer are inherently independently real.
Right. But on the flip side, we must equally abandon solipsism or nihilism.
We can't just fall into the trap of thinking, oh, everything is empty, so nothing exists, nothing matters.
Exactly. It's all just a hallucination in my head. No.
Oh.
That's a huge error. We also have to drop dualism, this strict, unbridgeable separation of things, and radical monism.
Monism being the idea that everything is just one giant, undifferentiated blob where all individuality is totally erased.
Right. The middle way navigates directly between all of those errors. Take your car, for example. The cognitive triad of owner, owning, and car is a highly effective, conventionally true tool.
Yeah, my mind is just doing its job by imputing that triad so I can actually drive to work.
Exactly. The mistake and the suffering only happens when we reify those tools into absolute truths.
Right, when I look at my car and think, my identity is permanently and inherently tied to this vehicle, and the separation between me and not me is absolute.
Yes.
And that reification is exactly what causes intense suffering when the car inevitably breaks down or gets scratched. I'm mistaking the useful map for the actual territory.
That's a great way to put it.
Hmm.
The map allows you to travel, but you can't build a house on it.
Right.
And this brings us to the dramatic conclusion of chapter 14, specifically verse 8, which really delivers the ultimate blow to the realist view.
Walk us through it.
Well, that Nagarjuna has systematically proven that unification can't happen between identical things due to redundancy. And it can't happen between inherently different things because they lack the capacity to interact.
So he writes, and I quote, "Thus, the becoming unified, the state of being united, and the one who unites are not possible."
He sweeps the entire board clean.
He really does. The process of unification, the resulting state of the finished product, and the agent causing the union, they are all completely empty of inherent existence.
Right. The unifier, the uniting, and the united are entirely deconstructed.
Like an artisan crafting a pot.
Perfect example.
Uh-huh.
The artisan, the act of crafting, and the clay pot do not possess independent reality. The entire event is just a dependently co-originated matrix.
So, practically speaking, step 10. How does this realization change our daily actions? If there's no inherent actor and no inherent action, how do we proceed without just falling into total passivity?
The practical application is to act conventionally, but without reification.
Acting without acting.
Exactly. We use the concepts of actor, action, and result because they are necessary. They're useful conventional tools. However, we use them without attachment, without reification, and, crucially, without the exhausting effort of trying to force absolute realities into alignment.
So we use them while fully knowing their true, empty nature.
Yes. You still act as the artisan. You still craft the pot.
But you execute the action with, like, a profound lightness.
A lightness, yes. You recognize that the you, the crafting, and the pot are a beautifully synchronized, dependently co-originated dance.
It's not a rigid collision of separate atoms.
Not at all. It's a lot like playing a complex game.
How so?
Well, you follow the rules meticulously to engage in the game, right?
Right.
But you never lose sight of the fact that it is indeed a game.
Right. You don't mistake the Monopoly money for your actual life saving.
Exactly. You engage fully, but you hold the construct slightly.
Which inevitably leads to step 11, the ultimate spiritual conclusion of all this analysis.
Yes.
If we truly stop trying to inherently unify separate things because we finally recognize they were never separate to begin with, what does our perception of reality actually become?
Well, when we abandon our conceptual grasping, and we stop trying to force reality into our tiny categorical boxes, we can perceive everything as primordially equal, pure, perfect, and complete.
We just abide in reality exactly as it is.
Yes, abiding in reality as it is points directly to the concept of tathata, or suchness.
Suchness. I love that term.
It's beautiful. It's the direct, non-conceptual experience of the union of the two truths.
So, suchness is basically experiencing the phenomena of the world without overlaying that heavy dualistic framework of an inherent subject and inherent object.
Precisely. It is witnessing the play of dependent origination without the compulsive, exhausting need to define the boundaries of the parts.
You know, for you, listening to this right now, realizing the impossibility of union does not isolate you.
No, not at all.
Because I think that's often the initial fear when encountering this philosophy. If things don't inherently connect, the mind automatically assumes, oh, I must be utterly alone.
It's a very common reaction.
But the truth is exactly the opposite. This realization liberates you. It frees you from the exhausting, never-ending effort of trying to force inherently separate parts of your life into alignment.
The effort is exhausting precisely because you are trying to bridge a gap that literally does not exist.
Right.
The parts of your life, the subject and the object, the seer and the seen, they were never fundamentally separate to begin with.
You don't have to build a bridge across the canyon because you are the canyon, the bridge, and the person walking across it, all co-arising simultaneously.
Beautifully said.
So as we synthesize this whole journey today, we can really see how the Abhidharma's idea of a real physical union of distinct parts just completely unravels under the rigorous logic of the tetralemma.
It falls apart. Inherent difference prevents any possible interaction, and inherent identity makes union entirely redundant.
Therefore, the true union of opposites is never a physical merging of separate things, nor is it a fusion of identical things.
More.
The true union of opposites is simply the union of the two truths regarding the three spheres of reality.
Conventionally, the spheres are highly functional and necessary.
But ultimately, they are empty of inherent existence, dependently co-arisen and illusory.
Exactly. And to close us out, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over as you go about your day.
Give it to us.
The next time you feel a deep, profound connection or union with someone or something, perhaps you're completely immersed in an amazing conversation or you're deeply moved by a piece of art.
Yeah.
Try not to view that experience as two separate entities bridging a gap.
Don't look for the puzzle pieces clicking together.
Right. Instead, explore the feeling that the you, the art, and the appreciation are a single, dependently co-originated illusion.
Just a spontaneous dance of emptiness and form.
Exactly. Ask yourself, how does experiencing that profound connection, knowing there is no inherent connector and no inherently connected thing, change the depth and the absolute freedom of that exact moment?
Wow. That satisfying click of the puzzle isn't two things joining. It's just the realization that the picture was always painted on a single, seamless canvas. Thanks for diving deep with us today.